how do we create change in our lives? A bit of a hippie alert for this one, because like I'm going to say, everything we can learn from looking at nature. Right? And if you look at nature, you'll see that little and often is often how the landscape is shaped, right? The sea goes into the mountains and it makes sand and it makes beaches, and that's how it works. So water drips slowly on a rock and eventually it's a hole, and that turns into a river, and blah, blah, blah. Little and often. And that is one way of creating change in your life, right? I call that habits and rituals, right? What we do on a daily basis, on a constant basis, is our habits. That's a great way to make change, great way to get certain. Look at our habits. The other things are the rituals, what we do fairly often, what we may do annually, what we may do quarterly. They create regular, consistent change, right? But if we look at nature, again, we see there's a different element to that story. So slowly the ice caps melting made the oceans, right? But it was a meteorite that killed the dinosaurs, right? It's often a huge volcano comes and it creates the land, right? So we have to hold all those elements in our mind when we're taking a personal development journey, when we're trying to be the man that I can become, the best version of myself. Some of it is going to be habits. Some of it is going to be what I do on a daily basis. What time I get up, what time I go to bed, what time I eat, how much time I spend with my family, whether I get to the gym or not, how much learning I do every day. Some of it is going to be habits. Some of it is going to be rituals. What do I do every year? Do I do a big gathering with all of my family to get all that connection every year? Do I make sure I go and see the dentist twice a year? What are those things I do that have to be, that I'm not doing daily, but I have to do regularly? Habits is kind of daily, or at least very regularly. Rituals are kind of what I do semi-regularly. But then there's what I call campaigns. That's what I call campaigns. They're like catalysts. There's certain things that need big change. There's certain things that are like, I've got to set this company up, or I've got to resolve that tax issue I have, or I've got to get out of the situation that I'm in. I've got to lose a massive amount of weight quickly. You know, there's certain things that are catalysts, and we can't always approach them gently. We can't always approach them little and often. I think as men, we have to be very aware of the seasons, and I don't mean the seasons out there. I mean the seasons we have inside us. You know, we work on different times. There's chronos time. The Greeks knew this. You know, there's chronos time, which is seconds, hours, minutes, and there's Kairos time, which is the seasons, which is the length of time something takes. So, you know, we know Christmas Day is on this day. The birds don't look at a clock and go, oh, it's time for us to fly north. But yet they somehow all know how to do it. We were in touch with that when we were natural too, when we lived more basic lives. There's a part of us that knows when it's the right time to and when it's the time not to. And I think there's a certain amount of damage that can be done with the idea of self-care in those moments. You know, we can be like, oh no, I have my rituals and I have my habits and I have to do them every day and I have to get 8 hours sleep and I have to do all that. Great. But sometimes in your life you need a catalyst. And on those times, it may not be the season for that. It may be a season to dig deeper into the type of animal that you are. And that's when it's okay to not sleep, work hard. Maybe you're going to be living on ramen noodles for 3 months. We do that and then we clean up the mess after, because that's how we would have lived. There would have been times to hunt, times to move, times to war, and then there'll be times to rest. So we have to hold this balance between what I do most of the time and what I have to do some of the time. And we can't make this some of the time wrong. You know, especially when we're I see men coming into work, to doing the work younger and younger and younger. And there's a certain time, and I see very young men, 21, 22, 23, and they're like, yeah, well, I'm trying not to be really competitive in my life at the moment. And, I'm just grounding myself and centering myself. There's a part of me that goes, that's great. And there's another part of me that wants to go, do you realize the fucking sort of animal you are at that age? Do you realize how long you can go without sleep? Do you realize how hard you can work? This is the time of your life when you want to be going out and showing, proving, not to the world, to yourself. And this is where I think people get wrong. When they talk about young men being competitive, they're not competitive. They're not trying to show the world how fantastic they are. They're trying to prove to themselves that they are competent in this thing called life, that they can thrive in this thing called life, that they can overcome danger, that they can solve problems, that they can face fear. That's what young men are trying. That's why young men put themselves in the face of danger. That's why young men run towards danger. And that's been exploited for a long time, but we shouldn't try and kill that. That's a need for young men to prove that they're capable and competent and brave and strong and able. They want to prove that. And so I'm sort of going on for the tangent slightly, but I do get worried when I see men come to work too young, because yes, it's great to learn to accept yourself and to love yourself, but depression can often come from not feeling capable, not feeling competent, not feeling like you have the status that you want in the world too. And you can try and develop your way out of that, or you can try and prove your way out of that. Nothing's better than real world evidence. So there's certain times when we have to know the difference between what I'm doing daily that will benefit me, what I'm doing regularly that will benefit me, and the time when, you know what, I might have to pay a bit of a personal cost here to build this, because this is what's needed right now, and this will make the biggest impact. And to become single-minded and ruthless in that, because that's going to make the biggest change. And so we need to keep everything that I try and get men to do with the work, is to become conscious about it. Sometimes we can work hard, killing ourselves for years and years and years, and we're really not sure why. And sometimes our self-care has become an excuse for not doing anything. And what the best thing we can do is become clear about our lives, so we can look at it and go, where's my resource needed and what needs to happen here? And then make a conscious decision. Okay, I might have to put myself through a serious amount of discomfort for the next 6 months, for the next year, for the next 5 years to do that. Am I willing to pay that cost? And if the answer is yes, then you do it, because it's never going to be an easy ride. There's a cost paid somewhere. And that goes the same with the other way. Am I willing to pay the cost for the lifestyle, the easier, more refined lifestyle that I'm leading now? The one that maybe I'm not making as impact as I would like to, but I'm getting more rest, I'm taking more care of myself. That's fine. But are you willing for what you may miss out on? Because often I see men, they've got that wrong. They're telling me how they want to change the world. They've got a kid over here they can't even pay for. How are you changing the world? You can't even look after your kid. Take care of your kid first, then work out how you're changing the world. Right? Telling me how you want to, you meditate in daily and daily because you're connected and you vibrate on a higher frequency. You don't even fucking know who your neighbours are. What are you talking about? You ain't building community by doing that. You want to go knock on some doors, know who your neighbours are, right? I'm not putting down self-care, but I'm saying it has to be done in balance. We have to make sure that whatever we're doing it consciously. Is my self-care become an excuse to not do? As my desire to change this simple, big impact on the world, this one issue, which I'm now obsessed with, which I'm building my identity through, and I'm just going to nail everything on that. Is that the hill you're willing to die on? Because you may be sacrificing your relationships. and your future happiness for that. If you are, great, hats off to you. But let's be sure what we're doing. And the other side too, am I going to go in the office and work 60-hour weeks for the next 25 years? Well, if you are, and that's what you want to do, hats off to you. But you may end up with 3 failed marriages and 5 kids who don't even know your name and won't even turn up at your funeral. So we have to be sure, and we have to try and get the balance right. And to me, getting the balance right is knowing when it's time for habits, little and often, knowing when it's time for ritual, shorter, more regular bursts, and knowing when it's time for a catalyst. Knowing when it's time to break off the bedroom door, put it on 2 crates, go, that's my desk, and I'm living on ramen noodles for the next 6 months of getting this fucking shit done. And it's knowing the difference and knowing the costs and being willing to pay those costs. And that's why you need a question like, is this taking me closer to the man I want to be or further away? If it can answer that question, and I'll do some videos soon talking about the importance of meta purpose, knowing our meta purpose, knowing if these activities are taking us closer or further away, is the key to being able to make the good decisions.